Welcome to the Uneventful Evening. My name is Priscilla McIntosh, CEO at the Morton Center. Normally, I would be standing in front of a podium talking to many individuals, but this year we have taken a pivot to make the event virtual. So I'm sitting in the comfort of my home in my comfy clothes, talking with you guys today. I'm so thankful and grateful for you to take the opportunity to log in and hear some inspiring stories from alumni that you have helped support and that you have made recovery possible. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope that you are inspired by the stories that you're about to hear.
Hey everyone, my name is Carrie Gabrielson and I'm an alum of the Morton Center, and I'm so excited, grateful, privileged to be able to come to you all today and to share a little bit of my experience with the Morton Center. I know we all wish that we could be together, enjoying a yummy lunch and meeting each other in person. But this is really the next best thing, and I am all the way in Nicholasville, Kentucky, so a little bit of ways from you all, but so privileged to be able to share this for this event. So I attended the intensive outpatient program in early 2010, and my sobriety date is November 11th of 2009, and keeping my fingers crossed, and if I keep doing what I'm doing, then I will be celebrating 11 years of sobriety coming up, which is just kind of mind-boggling a little bit to me. So I love the Morton Center. They were so vital to me in my early recovery. It was the first time that I felt heard, that I felt seen, that I felt understood after struggling with alcoholism for several years. I didn't really know about it. I thought that alcoholics just lived under the bridges and drank out of paper bags and, stood at the corner to try and take your money at stoplights and stuff. I didn't know that I was alcoholic. I grew up in St. Matthews, and I just didn't think that was part of the possibilities of me. I was 23 when I came in. So, again, I just thought that was completely crazy that I could be alcoholic at 23 and that I could have a problem, but I really, really did. And the Morton Center was very important to my sobriety and educating me about the disease and educating me about different ways that the disease shows up in my life. And more than anything, principles and tools and tactics that was really applicable that I could use out in the real world to help me be sober and to still enjoy life and to become a contributing member to society. When I came to the Morton Center, I was 23. I was still living at home with my mom, and I just was working at a restaurant that wasn't really going anywhere. I didn't have a degree. And now, fast forward 10 years later, strong thanks to the Morton Center and their services, I was able to graduate. I got married. I own a house. I own my car. I have a kid who you might hear in the background, so I apologize about that, but it is what it is. This is how I could come to you. So, that I'm responsible for another human being 10 years ago, that was just not even in my realm of abilities. So I would love everybody to know that the Morton Center is not just for the addict or alcoholic. They have services for the whole family, because if you have been affected by alcoholism or addiction, you know that it's not just the addict or alcoholic that suffers. The loved ones can suffer just as much as the alcoholic. And the Morton Center provides great education services for loved ones, for concerned persons. Even if your alcoholic or addict is not in recovery or is not in the Morton Center, loved ones can still go and receive services. And that's one thing that I want everybody to take away from today, is that it's for the whole family. And that is so important. And, we suffer together as alcoholics and addicts, and we can recover together as family and friends of loved ones of those people. So I am beyond grateful for the Morton Center and everything that they taught me, that I'm able to carry and still use to this day, almost 11 years later. Going through this COVID quarantine and not being able to get to meetings has been different and challenging. And, the Morton Center has found a way to pivot and to still provide these literally life-saving services. And so for that, I'm really super grateful. So I think that's about it. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us during this event.
Okay, Ms. Taylor, how are you this morning?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. First, I'd like to say thank you for agreeing to this interview with the Morton Center. And so I would like to start out by saying, can you tell me a little bit about your background?
Well, I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky here, and with my sister and my two parents. I went off to college, came back, got married, became a teacher, had a son, and I got divorced in 2018 and came to the Morton Center in March of 2020 after several years of alcohol abuse.
Okay. And so did any of your family members have a problem with addiction or alcohol? And if so, what was that like for you?
Not in my immediate family. None of my immediate family has or had any addiction issues. My paternal grandfather was an alcoholic, but he got sober when I was very young. So I was just never around, the behaviors of addiction growing up.
Okay, so you never had any direct.
Correct.
Okay. So what led you to the Morton Center?
Well, I completed an inpatient treatment program in Illinois, and I knew I needed more support. I couldn't go from 24-hour kind of care and help to just on my own trying to work my own program. So I looked for outpatient treatment programs in the area, and the Morton Center seemed to have the best reputation and success. And I had known some other people in AA who had completed the Morton Center and had really spoken highly of it.
Oh, well, great. I'm so glad you chose the Morton Center. So what was your life like before you came to the Morton Center? Would you mind sharing that?
Well, it was completely unmanageable. Besides the 30 days I spent in treatment, which is unmanageable in its own way, having to stop your life and be away from family and friends. But while I was still drinking, I could barely hold down a job. I was putting, my son in danger with my choices and behaviors. I was just completely out of control, and I couldn't stop on my own. And I was also just so unhappy. It was, and I was pretty hopeless.
Okay. So out of all the days, what was the circumstances that led you to come to the Morton Center on that day?
Well, I had just gotten home from treatment, and I was already feeling the need to drink again. And I was terrified. So I just, as scared as I was to start an outpatient program, I was more afraid of drinking. And I just called and made an appointment and came in.
Okay. So another question for you. What was the biggest challenge that you was facing at that time?
I would say just not knowing how to live life without alcohol. I used alcohol as my solution to everything, every feeling, every thought, every interaction. And so it was, how in the world do I navigate life sober? And I couldn't even really fathom it, because even in inpatient treatment, that's a bubble. That's not the real world. And now I was back in the real world. So how in the world was I going to do this, being present and sober and manage the feelings and emotions that come up? That was the biggest challenge, I think at that point.
Okay, thank you. So what are some of the things that you've done to solve your challenges on your own? So was it anything that you tried to do on your own?
Well, I had tried a lot of times to just not drink, and I'd had several relapses in recovery of trying to do some things on my own, where it was like, I just won't drink today, but not relying on a program or an organization like the Morton Center for Help. And every time I failed. And even working in AA program, I still needed more support and accountability, being so early in sobriety.
Okay. So now that you've been here for a while, what is your life like now? What is your life like today?
Oh, it's completely different. I have some hope for the future, and it's realistic hope, because I can do things now that I'm sober. I'm happy. I'm a good mother. I'm a good daughter. I'm a good sister. I'm a good friend in a way that I never was before. And, I am working my program one day at a time, but I am starting to look into the future of what my goals and aspirations are, because that feels possible now in a way that it just didn't before when I was drinking every day.
Awesome job. So what is your outlook for the future now?
It's really positive. Again, it's a one day at a time program, and I try to stay in the day, but it's just that feeling of like things can keep getting better, and if I stay sober, and that's the big thing. It's like, I know that my sobriety has to come first, because without that, nothing else matters, because I won't have anything else. I'll throw it away. And it's just the idea that I, can continue to build and improve my relationships, build up that trust with the people that I've lost with it. I'm working on amends right now, and seeing these relationships get repaired before my eyes is pretty miraculous. And so there's just a lot of promise in my future now that wasn't there before.
Oh, great job. So last question for you.
Okay.
Is how has your experience with the Morton Center changed your life?
Well, I think it gave me the tools to get some sobriety under my belt to start to make the changes I needed to make in my life. And it really helped me identify triggers and warning signs, so that I can be really proactive about my recovery. I don't just have to react positively when things happen, because I'm not always able to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm proactive and avoiding those things and have a plan for how to deal with them when they do crop up, because they will, I'm able to deal with life on life's terms now. And that's, something I never had before this.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you so much for choosing the Morton Center. And so is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, just that, the Morton Center did a great job when things closed down from the pandemic. I was worried that all that support would be ripped out from under me when I really needed it, but y'all made it work, and I was able to have that accountability and that support that I needed to maintain my sobriety. So I really appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Taylor, for taking the time out and interviewing with us, and continue to do what you're doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is Brad Barnett. The Morton Center asked me to make a video talking about any memories I have from the Morton Center, or things I wish that people knew about the Morton Center that they don't know. I think I can answer both questions actually at the same time. So I have a lot of memories from the Morton Center of breakthroughs in my recovery. I remember the first time I was in IOP, the first group I was in, I had had my son the Saturday before, and my first IOP group was that Monday after. So the first thing I shared ever at the Morton Center was that I was a new father that was trying to get sober, and I had no idea what to do. That Thursday actually happened to be alumni night, so I met my sponsor, who is still my sponsor today, in my first week at the Morton Center. And those were both big deals for me. There are a lot of different things that happened along the way too. I mean, a family festival was a big deal for me. It was a successful attempt at service that, you know, I feel like made an impact on some people in early recovery and opened up some doors for some people that I had never been able to do in the past. And I mean, I've had other breakthroughs, like I had seen my therapist for a while, and I found out after I'd seen her, you know, for probably over a year, that she had a master's in theology. So the Morton Center provided me an avenue to discuss my spirituality that I didn't feel comfortable doing necessarily outside of those doors, which were all big things for me in growing my recovery. So as far as what I want people to know the most about the Morton Center that they don't already know is that the Morton Center taught me how to attack my disease from multiple avenues. Rather than just like looking at it like a disease and attacking it like that. We also, I do couples or family therapy with my fiance on a regular basis, so we were able to work on our relationship, which is not something that I can necessarily do, you know, through the normal methods. Like I said, I'm able to go in and talk about my spirituality. They keep me involved in service work, so that's what's different about the Morton Center than any other treatment center that I've ever been to, is that they teach me how to attack my disease from so many different angles that just help me strengthen myself in sobriety. So I hope that helped. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alex Guyman, and I am a counselor and the Early Recovery Program Coordinator with the Morton Center. And today I'm here with Jacob, and he's gonna answer some questions. So Jacob, can you tell us a little bit about what your life was like growing up?
So I'm Jacob, and to answer that, my life growing up for me was very confusing. From the outside looking in, it was looked like the perfect family. My dad coached me in every sport. My sister played volleyball, went to Sacred Heart. My mom was a nurse. We had a beautiful house. So from the outside looking in, everything looked like we were a great family and perfect. But behind closed doors, it was very difficult. My dad was very emotionally abusive. He drank a lot, especially at night. And so I had trouble trying to figure out if my childhood and life at the time was either bad or good. Because compared to other kids that I hung out with who had less than me, I thought, well, you know, I have everything that they want, so I must not be that bad. But behind closed doors, it was very, very difficult for me. I lived most of my childhood in fear and anxiety due to the fact of when my dad drank, he liked to take his anger out on me and put me down. He thought it motivated me. So it was very, very confusing for me to try and figure out what was going on in my childhood. And a lot of it was gaslighted by family members and downplayed. So it was hard. It was hard for a young boy to try and figure out what was going on and what I needed to do and how I should feel. So it was very challenging.
Thank you for such a vulnerable response. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to the Morton Center?
Desperation. It was a Hail Mary. I've been to many treatment centers, in-state and out-of-state. A lot of ones in-state, multiple times. I was lost and wanted to do something new. I've seen the Morton Center, I've heard of it. I used to live across the street from it, so I knew what they did. And I just knew the places that I've been before did not work. And it was very hard for me to go back to those places and start all over again and see the same people. So I decided to try something different and go to the Morton Center and see what they had to offer, and maybe it would be a little different, or something that was said would wake me up or catch my attention to help me better understand this disease and what I'm going through. Because when I got there, I was on the fence of life or death.
Thank you. What was the biggest challenge that you were facing? And so, kind of talking about your experiences at the Morton Center, what were some of the biggest challenges that you were facing when you first arrived?
When I first arrived to the Morton Center, the biggest challenge was giving up and accepting that this is how I was going to be for the rest of my life, or giving this thing one more shot. I was completely lost, full of fear, barely had any hope or faith in the program anymore, or myself, and was really struggling with accepting that this was who I was and this was my life, and it was never going to change, and nothing or no place or no one was going to be able to help me. So accepting that, or allowing myself to open up one last time and give this program and the Morton Center a chance to really help me, and be willing to accept the help and trust them. So that was the biggest internal issue that I had, was just letting go and accepting that this was who I was, or fighting one last time to save my life.
Thank you. How has your experience at the Morton Center impacted your life?
Well, first off, saved my life. And they educated me on the true meaning and aspect of the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction. I always believed that if you were an addict or an alcoholic, your problem and only problem was you drank too much or used too much.
All right. So, Jacob, how has your experience with the Morton Center impacted your life?
Well, it's greatly. They saved my life. They educated me on the true meaning of what it is to have alcoholism or drug addiction. I always thought that if you were an alcoholic or a drug addict, that you either used too much or drank too much, and if you were able to stop that you would be okay. And I thought that's what the 12 steps did, and what the Morton Center really taught me and did for me is showed me another way and another aspect of this disease, that was only a symptom. And the true disease is in your thinking and how you're not able to cope with life on life's terms or deal with emotions. And that really hit home with me because for so long, the best way to describe it is a fire, a house on fire. And the drinking and drug abuse was the fire, and it was scary, it was hot, it was life-threatening. Everybody just wanted the fire to get put out and you to get out okay. And every time the fire went out, I was so thankful that I was able to make it out alive, take a deep breath, and then restart building my house, and then another fire would happen. And I couldn't understand why these fires kept happening, why I kept relapsing. And what the Morton Center really taught me and focused on was what was causing the fires. And when that happened, and the focus was not so much on the drugs and alcohol, but on me and why I needed drugs and alcohol, it saved my life and impacted me so greatly because a light bulb went off. And it was a question that I'd never been asked, and a question that I wanted answers to, why I needed to drink or use. So, greatly.
Thank you for such a powerful image and metaphor. Now that you've been with the Morton Center for a little while, what is your life like today?
Life today is it's a normal life, and that's all I ever wanted when I was using and drinking and in the madness. I always wanted a family and a house and a future and stuff to look forward to. And when you're in the madness and using or drinking, you have none of that stuff. You're captured and controlled by a substance, and that's the only thing that your focus is on. And it's chaotic, and it drives and beats a person down to the point of feeling empty and hopeless. And I remember always just breaking down and crying and wishing I had a life like my sister or my mom or my friends, with a house and a family and a job they got to go to every day, and normal problems. And I have all that today, and I'm very grateful. And every day isn't perfect. Every day isn't great. And some days are. Some days everything goes right. And it's amazing. It's amazing to finally feel free from that evil and to be able to enjoy life and experience it that everyone should be able to experience life as.
Thank you. What would you want others to know about the Morton Center? Maybe somebody seeking help or people who are in the middle of using themselves.
Well, I'll keep it on me. In my story, in my experience with them, they offer more than any other place that I've been to has. They care, they educate you on, like I said before, the true aspect of the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction. They offer one-on-one therapy with, you get your own personal therapist, a psychiatrist if you needed it. And they care, they truly care. And you can sense that when you go into a place or a treatment center, if they're there just doing their job, or if the people are there and really want to see you succeed and get your life back and have sympathy for what you've been through and the cards you've been dealt. And especially me, and I could pick up on that, and they saved my life. And for anyone that's out of options or doesn't know what to do and been to the same treatment center or IOP over and over again, to give the Morton Center a chance and to really open up, because I promise you that the feedback and the help and how much they care could really save your life. And I will always be in debt to the Morton Center. I was that person that thought everything was stupid. I laughed at everything that any treatment center, inpatient or outpatient, told me to do. Color a picture. I was the person that thought it was pointless. And I'm just so grateful that I went there. And I'm so grateful I was willing to be honest and open to accept the help. That's probably one of the biggest things, is if you're going to get help, really accept it.
Thank you, Jacob. And before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts or any words of wisdom that you'd like to pass on to anyone who maybe needing help or may have a family member in need?
Well, if anybody that's in the madness at the time and they're watching this, I want to say I'm so sorry for what you're going through. And no one truly really knows the pain and agony that we deal with, and the guilt and the shame, and how hard it is to put one foot in front of the other and get out of bed each morning and to deal with life and the struggle of being controlled by something. It really, it's sad, and it's just, it just breaks my heart to know that people are out there and they're suffering, and they should be getting help instead of getting labeled or stereotyped, because no one wants to live like that, and no one wants to be controlled the way that a person struggling with addiction is. And I love each and every one of them, and feel just at home around a bunch of people struggling as I do at my own house with my girlfriend and little stepdaughter.
Thank you. Well, Jacob, I wanted to thank you for your time and for spreading the message and paying it forward. And thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed and been inspired by the stories that you've heard today, and to know that recovery is possible. The last 6 months have been challenging for us all, but can you imagine if right before all of this you decided that you were ready to start your journey to recovery? On March 16th, the Morton Center was doing face-to-face sessions. On March 17th, the staff jumped to the challenge. There was no waiting for clients to be seen. They immediately went to telehealth services. They took the challenge on and they moved forward. It was so inspiring to see that they wanted to make sure that there was no one that was left behind. They wanted to make sure that they were there to help and support their clients and new individuals reaching out asking for help and support. Since COVID, the Morton Center has seen a 64% increase in clients reaching out and asking for help. Some individuals that had been in long-term recovery but just needed that extra help and support, because connection in recovery is very important. And without having those meetings that they were used to going to, they needed some additional support. Many individuals that we heard from had thought and contemplated on reaching out for help and support, but were not able to do that because of fear, because of stigma. But because of the telehealth services, we've been able to help and support them. We have clients who started with us on March 17th who are now celebrating 6 months of sobriety. That's because of the support that you have given, the support that the community has given. We can't do it without you. We hope that you will continue to help. We ask you to help. Help us show the community that recovery is possible. Will you please open your hearts, open your wallets, and help support us by making a donation today? You can text to donate if you would like, or you can also just look down on the website and you will be able to see donations that you can make using a credit card. There are also options for you to mail in a payment if that's easier. We just want you to know that we are so grateful and so thankful for all the individuals that you have helped support, and we ask that you please help continue to allow for us to support everyone that reaches out and asks for help. We do not want to have to turn anyone away because we know, especially in this trying time that we are living through right now, that many, many, many more need our help. And we ask for your support to help us make sure that we can continue to do that without turning anyone away. Thank you again for joining. If you should have any questions or need any information, check out the Morton Center website for our services, and also please feel free to reach out to us.